All right. Well, welcome everybody. Happy to see you all. Let me go
Oh,
ahead and
Debbie's trying to get in. I need to send her a link, so I'll do that.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very
Okay,
much. I
go ahead and
appreciate it.
keep going. Sorry.
All right. So we'll go ahead and jump in. Welcome everybody to the meeting for today. I think my screen's still shared. That should be good. Go ahead and do our bell. All right. And if you're I think we only have, yeah, no guests here. So if you guys are ready, we can do the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the
Is
truth?
it the
Truth.
truth?
Is it fair to
Is it
all
fair to
Fair.
all
concerned?
Fair to
concerned?
all concerned.
Will it build
Will it
goodwill
build
and better
goodwill and better
friendships?
friendships?
Will it be beneficial to
Will
all
it be
All
concerned?
concerned.
beneficial to all concerned?
All right. Don't see any guests, so we can blow through there. For announcements, the only one that I was thinking about is this weekend we have a district conference. There's going to be it's three tracks: membership, foundations, and gosh, there's another track. I'm sorry, I forgot off the top of my head, but there is a conference this weekend. It is in Port St. Lucie. I will try to go and represent us. It is required to receive district grant funds for 25-26 that we have representation. Unfortunately, when I registered, all the slots were full for the grant workshop. I'm just going to show up. So just letting you guys know, I'll just show up and try to put my name down, make sure they've checked me on the roll, so that we get credit for having someone attend the grant workshop. So I'll just, crash the party, hopefully get credit for it, and hopefully get our ability to secure grant funds for 24 or 25, 26. There'll probably be another opportunity as well. So if there is another opportunity, I'll try to go to that one as well. Any other announcements from the group? I guess going along with our conversation prior to the call starting, vote and vote early if you can. Highly encourage everybody to do that. So vote and vote early. Let's take a look at our chair updates. Anything from our chairs? I know one of our chairs is probably sitting in a chair at the doctor, so she can't chime in. Anything from foundations or anything else? All right. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and jump into I Fix the Planet. Anybody have anything they might want to share for I Fix the Planet? Anything that you might have done to help the environment, recycle, clean up, anything at all?
I guess I have one. I've been doing it for a few months now. So every time I go take my dog out for a walk, we collect like cans and bottles. And in Finland, when you take them to a grocery store, you get money back from them.
Hmm.
So yeah, we've been doing that. So
Do you
far, I have received $24.
have a bag you walk around with? It's like a
Yeah, sometimes I have a bag and sometimes I forget to take it, so I just put it in my pocket or
oh,
something.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We have there's a group near my house, and uh I'm sure you remember Yannicka from your visits. There's a lot of golf cart communities.
Mhm.
So a lot of people have golf carts around me, and there's a church group that goes up and down the road in front of my house, and they have like three golf carts. I guess they're all volunteers that live nearby, and they just go up and down and pick up trash. I think every Saturday, so every Saturday morning. But I'm excited. I can't wait for my boys to get old enough, and two, buy a golf cart, because then I'm going to go take my kids out and do the same thing. Just go, every Saturday, just kind of build a what do you call it? Build like a habit. Just something to
Yeah.
instill that in my boys.
I am always picking up trash when I walk through my neighborhood. It's disgusting that, the numbers of plastic bottles and
Hmm.
and stuff that's thrown out on the side of the road. And we're not a very heavily traveled neighborhood. And it just annoys me. I feel like I need one of those bags in the picks, like you see the guys going through the parks picking things on a stick. There's
Yeah.
our speaker. She's joined us. Hi, Debbie.
I am so sorry.
That's
No,
all
no
right.
problem.
Technology.
No problem. No problem at
What
all.
a wild ride. My phone wouldn't do it. My laptop wouldn't do it. So here we are.
Well, and
No
the
problem.
email that you sent me, the other one, you said send to this one, that kicks back. So I think there's a typo in it because I just copied and pasted it and it
Gotcha.
kicked back. But you got the other one, so with the link, so for
Thank
Yeah.
you.
your other email. So just so you know, I did try.
Thank you
And we're
very
just and we're just wrapping up, Debbie. If you if you want to hold tight for a second, we do some fun stuff. I don't know if you've been to Rotary before, but we go through some announcements and some like housekeeping stuff. And now this is the fun part. This is the happy bucks. So we got 3 categories: happy bucks, sad bucks, birthdays, anniversaries. If anybody would like, we can start with, let's do anniversaries, birthdays, anniversaries. Anything to celebrate? No? All right. Good. How about sad bucks? And then we'll end on a high note. All right. Happy bucks. Happy bucks then.
I have one. I'm
Good.
ecstatic that we only have one more week of this election campaign craziness. I'm terribly worried about the end results, but I would just be glad when it's over. It's
Can
just
can I just say, yeah, can I just say I am thoroughly appalled with the number of text messages that I get. I don't know if that's everywhere, Debbie, or if
Yes.
it's just here in Florida, but this is A, sickening. 2, this has got to be illegal. Unsolicited text messages, that's an FCC violation because I mean that's what I do. That's my job. That's one of my specialities. And if there's not some kind of loophole, this has got to be illegal. How do I report this? This is crazy.
Well, I know I get a lot from, we've asked you 6 times if you promise you're going to vote for Kamala. And I'm like, I already voted. Can I just stop already? But
But
I
for
know
me, it's
those come
local.
in because I've signed up for like Act Blue and things like that. Sorry, I'm not
I
political.
don't
I'm just
see,
saying where I am with things. But
I
but
haven't signed up for anything. Not,
um
I definitely haven't signed up for anything. And I'm getting unsolicited SMS messages from local people in elections. And I'm like, again, how did you get my number? And how is this legal? Because
yeah, I haven't
I
gotten
report
anything
them.
looking.
I report them all. But anyway, I'll be glad when it's over too. back to my Chinese hackers pretending to be pretty girls sending me messages. I'll be happy to get those instead of the election crap. All right. So with that, we will introduce Debbie. Debbie is a lifelong resident of the Eastern Shore, and that's the peninsula comprised of the slivers of Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware between the shores of the Chesapeake and the Atlantic. Debbie loves the outdoors and enjoys teaching children to fish and care for our natural surroundings. As a gardener, she also promotes agrohomeotherapy. How did I do?
Agrohomeopathy.
Hey, oh, okay. I put an R in
You're
there. I'm
close.
sorry. Well, you know what? Your homeopathy could turn into therapy eventually. So,
That's right.
um, and crop care as an alternative to pesticides and chemicals. What a great idea. She and her family purchased a small cottage in Silver Beach, Virginia in 2000, which afforded her an opportunity to directly observe and enjoy the Chesapeake from her own front yard. While she has been increasingly concerned about the toll that industrial Manhattan reduction of fishing having on the bay over the last 10 years, numerous significant fish kills in 2022 provided a wake-up call for action. In response, Debbie founded the Facebook group Manhattan Little Fish Big Deal to provide a place for discussion, information sharing, calls to action, and as a way to build collaboration and connectivity around the issue. Debbie is a graduate of Achieving Excellence in Community Development Executive Program at Harvard Kennedy School. With that, Debbie, I will turn it over to you. Welcome to our club and thanks for coming.
Good morning, and thank you so much. There are many of us working tirelessly to try and raise awareness around this issue. I hope that everyone on the line had an opportunity to watch the video that I sent the link out for. No. Yes. Yes. No.
I'll resend. Yeah, I'll resend right now, and so we can watch it maybe after as well.
Yes. So there's an incredible documentary film that was made by a New York filmmaker, Bill McKeever, that chronicles all that's going on. So I'll take a little more time to provide an overview. There is a Canadian-owned multinational company called Cook Inc., Cook Seafood, and they purchased many years ago now an operation called Omega Protein. Omega Protein runs a massive industrial reduction fishing operation for menhaden. They're also known as pogies. So some of you might know the fish as a pogie rather than a menhaden. They operate here out of Reedville, Virginia. They fish up and down the Atlantic coast. However, Virginia is the only state along the Atlantic coast that does not limit them to 3 miles out into open water in what's called the EZ, which is past the jurisdiction of state waters. And that's partly to protect coastal areas. Menhaden are a keystone species. They provide essential food to especially osprey and striped bass. Osprey are in catastrophic failure in the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay is the largest breeding ground for osprey in the world. We work collaboratively with Audubon and many other conservation groups. Chesapeake Bay Foundation is one of them. And so over the last 10 years, we have seen increased concentration of these factory fishing ships, and they come out into the bay, which is 18 miles wide here where I am. I'm at one of the widest points. And they use spotter planes to find the schools. They deploy these gigantic ships. And when a school is spotted, they circle it with nets the size of 4 football fields and take the entire school. And along with the school, they take whatever is, if you understand Menhaden, the drum or the dolphins or the birds that are fishing for them are up closer to the surface. So when they pull the net, they pull everything and nothing in that net lives. So in 2022, among these huge fish spills was one that took 12,000 pounds of mature red drum. These fish were like 35 years old. They're our breeding stock. If you or I went out and caught a red drum that size and it died, there would be tremendous legal consequences for us. But 12,000 pounds, which is the number that Omega reported, so who knows what the real number was, but that was the number that was reported. No consequences at all. Very, very sad, plus all the Menhaden that were lost. They have a quota in the Chesapeake Bay. And one of the tricky things about the Chesapeake is that the regulatory bodies are state by state. The Chesapeake Bay doesn't know state arbitrarily drawn property lines, right? Maryland does not allow them. But the Menhaden have to come through Virginia to get to Maryland. And so the Maryland osprey populations and striped bass populations are in collapse. Ours are in profound collapse. And I will send you some scientific studies about that to review along with the video. This year, we were able to save a few osprey chicks that were starving to death. Most of them starved to death. The hatch rate is not such that it can sustain the population. I'll send you a chart on that as well. Some were found near starvation and taken to rescuers, and with supplemental Menhaden feedings, they were able to regain strength and ultimately be released. The osprey nests, a lot of the pairs aren't coming back to the bay. Why? Are they dead? We don't know. Did they have to move? We don't know. But with the chick failure rate, and Menhaden are their primary choice of food because of the high oil content in Menhaden. When Omega Protein processes this Menhaden, these factory ships, they have big vacuums, they've got big nets. I mean, this is industrial in nature. It's like the concentrated feeding operations for chickens and pigs and cows, if you want to make a comparison. They take them back and they process them at their factory. And they use them now primarily, some for supplements, some for pet food, but primarily to feed the farm-raised salmon in their international farm salmon operation. The feed conversion rate doesn't make sense. The loss to the Chesapeake doesn't make sense. The loss to local communities. People can't go. It's been years since I've caught a fish that I could eat off my little dock. The pelicans are gone. All the seabirds are gone. We used to see pods of dolphins. Now, if you see a dolphin, you jump up and run out there to see it because it's become rare. The stripers that people are catching, they've got barnacles in their bellies. This is an environmental disaster. The quotas that are set by the regulators, we have two sets of regulators, and one is the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, and the other is VMRC. You will see the links to financial contributions for the state of Virginia from Omega in the video and in the documentary, and it's a lot of money. It's interesting because it goes to both parties, because they're not supporting a political ideology, they're buying influence. That's why you make contributions like that. Their lobbyists are in and out of the state building all the time, nothing that can possibly be matched by conservationists and advocates. We're trying really hard, but that's what goes on. And so we had hope this year. We have science, and there's no science to support the catch poundage limits for menhaden. So right now, they can take, based on historical catches, 112 million pounds of menhaden from the Chesapeake, and another 230 million pounds from the mouth of the Chesapeake at the Atlantic Ocean. They take everything coming and going. It's not sustainable. The bay is in catastrophic collapse from the standpoint of the ospreys. And we thought we had made good progress with our advocacy and bringing all of these groups together and presenting the science. And 2 months ago at the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Committee meeting, they had a motion to start to regulate the bay around what was happening with the osprey especially. And they said, well, let's form a work group. And the work group will come back next month, and they'll have a problem statement and they'll have potential resolutions. Well, that meeting last week, zero. No, nothing from the committee. Now they say that they'll be ready to make a report in the spring of 2025. What that means is that by the time the committee, if they even come up with something worthwhile, which history suggests they won't, because we had a study and funding for a study with the state last year, and they had this group of constituents. Omega had a nice presence on that board, and they agreed to the study, and then all of a sudden, before it even, the committee meeting opened, and they said it's dead. We're not even talking about that today. No, but yeah, it's a mess. So the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries has kicked the can down the road for 2025, which means that nothing would happen regulatorily speaking in 2025. The governor, he could engage in emergency action and ban them from the bay and 3 miles from shore until and if science ever could substantiate that taking any amount of them in the Chesapeake and at the mouth of the bay made sense. But he won't. He appoints the members of the VMRC. We've started to feel like our real recourse is federal recourse. There are 2 lawsuits currently against Omega we're funding one of them. And it's around VMRC's failure to regulate. The second one is a federal lawsuit. And it's 70 pages long. I'll send it to you. I think you'll find it fascinating. The basis of the lawsuit is that when Omega was purchased by Cook, there is a law that prevents foreign fishing vessels from doing this. They created an affiliate known as Ocean Harvesters, and Ocean Harvesters would own the boats, the fishing boats. Well, the leader of Ocean Harvesters is a close relative of the CEO of Cook Inc., and they are a captive entity according to this lawsuit. And it's a well-documented lawsuit, which means that they actively worked according to this lawsuit to circumvent US law and to create the illusion that this was a private company that they had no control over. And the Magnuson-Stevens Act says you can't do what they did. Well, the suit was filed, the documents are available now, and the US government has said we don't want to pursue it. So the two scientists who filed this, they're scientists and investigators who filed the suit, are continuing with it. The allegations are breathtaking. And so we do hope that this will continue along. They have not dropped the lawsuit. It's just that the federal government won't prosecute using that lawsuit. So it's about a lot of money on the consumption side. And then here, it's about people who go, this is a national treasure. This is, this is one of the largest estuaries in the world. We're on the Atlantic flyway. It's a terrible thing. And local communities, other than Reedville, Virginia, which is where the plant is operated and is one of the wealthiest in Virginia, our little counties like Northampton, it's causing collapse here. The little hotels and motels that used to just be full to capacity with fishermen. No, there's no fish to catch. People who depend on the bay to eat can't fill their freezers. Charter fishermen out of business. The implications on local economies in really poor communities is suffering, and no one will pay attention. So when I had this opportunity to speak to you today, I jumped at the chance because we have to magnify our voices. We have to grow this. We have to have more smart people to help us talk through it and say, well, have we tried this? Should we do that? How do we organize? How do we really make impact? Because this is not just a national treasure. This is a world treasure. And I and my neighbors and the people who are part of this group are just not willing to go quietly while the last bit of life is sucked out of the Chesapeake.
Deb, I hear these stories and I realize that the older I get, the more homicidal tendencies I have. My first thought was, well, can we just go blow up their shipping vessels? But did I say that out loud? Sorry.
You didn't mean, you just meant it metaphorically.
Yes, metaphorically, yes. Absolutely. It was just a joke, right? What was I going to ask you? Well, as a comment, do you remember was it in the 70s when they did the Make America Beautiful, or Keep America Beautiful, that they did the Native American man and he saw
Yes.
that was such a hugely impactful commercial.
It was.
And I mean, they could trot that back out and just redo it and put it back out. But is there to me, it's always like you have to boil things down to something very simple and impactful, like the whole, what's the In the Arms of an Angel, Sarah McLachlan and the Humane Society. It seems like if you had images of that sort of stuff, have you
Of
tried?
starved osprey chicks, and we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're a bunch of volunteers who like throw
Yeah.
our pennies together to buy a few bumper stickers or to, launch a
Yeah.
website or
Can't
whatever.
afford a massive undertaking like a commercial that you could show countrywide, but maybe just locally. But it has to be, the whole production costs and everything. You need to have someone, and I have no talent in that capability, or I would do my best, but that's not my particular skill set. Anyway, yeah, it's disgusting, especially because nobody in the government is doing anything because they're all just being bought.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would
And
encourage you all, if you're on Facebook or have the ability to get on Facebook, to go to the Menhaden Little Fish Big Deal group and join. We also have a website called saveourmenhaden.org. And, we post a lot of information because information is power. The study that we have has been running for well over 10 years at William and Mary. So it's not like it's somebody's opinion. This is real science. Getting the word out. We've got 2,000 members in the group right now, just continuing to get the word out and grow this group and try to grow awareness. Like I said, I think it's got to be a federal issue because it crosses state lines. It impacts a lot of people. And so, there should be nationally, there should be outrage over what politicians are allowing to go on in the Chesapeake Bay, regardless of your party, because it's happened under mayors who are Democrat or under governors who are Democrats, and it's happened under governors who are Republican.
yeah, it's just too much money in politics.
Too much money and influence involved.
Mhm.
And so how do we get that kind of response? And it was especially interesting to me that your convention next year is in Canada. They wouldn't be allowed to do what they're doing here in our Chesapeake Bay in Canada. I
But
don't
it's a
think
Canadian
Canadians
company.
have any idea what they're up to. I don't think that the pet food companies who buy their products have any knowledge about what they're up to, or probably even the supplement makers. And so how do we create a scenario, or can we create a scenario where consumers realize what's going on and say, I'm not supporting that. I'm not buying that pet food unless they find a plant-based alternative, because that's the other thing, is that there are plant-based alternatives to everything they're doing. But they want to take the Menhaden.
Because that's the easy known.
And they want to fish as much as they can in the Chesapeake because they don't have to burn any fuel to speak of. They don't have to go very far.
What do they think is going to happen when they wipe out the population of fish?
I don't think they care. They'll deal with that when they come to it.
Yeah, I was going to ask basically the same question. When do you come to a point where there's not enough fish to make any more money? I mean, are you that close to that, level of decimation of the?
Well, you have to remember that they can fish in the ocean, and they do fish in the ocean. They fish in the ocean all the way up to New England, and when they can't find fish here, they will take their ships up to New York, to, Rhode Island, to Delaware, to Maryland.
Dave, you're on mute. Dave, you've gone back on mute.
Sorry. Wasn't there a pretty good success story in the Chesapeake of involving blue crabs and horseshoe crabs?
And now the blue crabs are back in collapse, and we suspect, but have no evidence, that the industrial fishing has something to do with that. First of all, their nets are way too big for the depth of the Chesapeake Bay. And second, you know, if you've ever had a crab pot, if you put a crab trap over, menhaden is your prime bait to put in your crab pot. And so yeah, we think that the net damage to the bed of the bay and the lack of menhaden and all of the other, you know, there's just this horrific domino effect, that this domino effect is also partially to blame for what's going on with the poor performance in the crab population.
Well, back in our area where most of it, well, not everybody on this phone call, but in Brevard County in the Indian River Lagoon, which is a big ecosystem in itself, they banned the use of nets, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. And that has helped for many of the stocks to rebound. So
Yes.
sounds like
Well-
something that needs to be done along those lines in the Chesapeake too.
That's one of the scary things about Amendment 2 that's on our ballot this election in Florida, is they want to add an amendment that says the right to hunt and fish using traditional methods. Well, to me, traditional is a string and a pole. But to them, it's like, oh, let's bring back gill nets, which sounds very much like maybe, I don't know if it's the same kind of net you're talking about, Deb, but that's why I'm voting against it, because it's not, there's no need for it. There is a statute already in our state constitution that says you have a right to hunt and fish. We don't need to expand that and possibly weaken the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission.
We have an additional question that we're trying to wrangle with and find an attorney to help us wrangle with here right now, and that's with the use of the spotter planes, because they want to argue that menhaden fishing has been going on in the Chesapeake since the 1880s, which is true. However, they didn't have boats of this size. They didn't have nets of this size, and they become apex predators, mechanical apex predators, because they're using these spotter planes, and you're not allowed to hunt wildlife from the sky. Are they hunting wildlife from the sky if they're using spotter planes? We don't know.
Absolutely.
I think they are, but smarter legal minds would have to determine whether or not that that is a point of inflection for us.
What's
And I
next for you guys?
I like to think that the citizens of Canada would be outraged too if they knew what was going on. This is their planet too.
I think they're a little more tuned in than most Americans to this kind of thing. Not most, but a lot. But yeah. So what's next? You're doing the federal lawsuit and then the more localized lawsuit, but that's
So we've got 2 more VMRC meetings this year.
that's Virginia Marine Resource
Virginia
Council?
Marine Resources Commission
Okay.
over at Fort Monroe near Norfolk. And so we'll go and we'll testify at those for all the good that it will do. But you can't, I mean, you can't say it's too hard and just stop. And then, so we've got the 2 lawsuits. We've got the other issue that we're looking at, like I said, with the spotter planes. It's an election year. And so whatever the outcomes of the election
That's going to really impact you.
are,
Yeah.
it could drive some change. Politicians in Virginia don't want to talk about it.
Well, the cowardice is
I think
rampant.
the problem is as well, like if there is a change in politics, it might take months or years before it's actually implemented at the same time. Because I mean, I only dropped in halfway. I'm so sorry. I got my times mixed up because the time change in the Netherlands was last weekend. So I logged in and a bit too late. I'm so sorry. But the part that I did catch is it sounds very similar to the problems we have in the Netherlands as well. We have in Zeeland, we have it's a big nature area called the Oosterschelde, which is famous for its lobster as well. There are hardly any lobsters left. So it's a big problem. And it's especially the problem is politics, it's pollution, it's it's terrible. And I mean, the answers are quite clear. I mean, we have to cut back on the pollution, but for that to happen, we have to get the big factories that are actually polluting the river in on it, and that comes into politics again and money, and it's a circle. It's horrible.
And how healthy are farm-raised salmon to eat? I don't think they're very healthy.
No,
And
no.
so you're taking a keystone species out of the mouths of native species, hauling them all around the world to feed something that is way less healthy than if you could just go catch a nice striped bass on your fishing line in the bay. And we've gone from menhaden in the bay that are, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches long, a good sized fish for a menhaden, into having them, the last ones that I saw as part of a fish kill were, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches long. So they've collapsed the breeding population too. And then now, since there's only little ones, that's what they catch.
Yeah.
And they self-report.
That's
They're
terrible.
Observers on the boats, they self-report the weight of their catches and their bycatch, and that information is not available to the general public.
I see somebody has their hand up. I'm not quite sure who it is though.
Oh, sorry. This is Kimberly. I'm on my cell phone. I had to go back. I had to go out for a while because I was scheduling a doctor's thing, but thank you so much, Deb, for coming. It's so fortuitous that when I was visiting my sister down there, that she mentioned this project that you're working on, and I said, oh, I've got to get her to come and speak to my Rotary Club. And interesting that our international convention is in Calgary next year. So I'll talk to Nancy about my sister, getting some information from you that maybe I can take with me, because I'm going to Calgary next year for the convention, and they have a big push for ecology as well, or at least they say they do in Rotary. So I'm happy to bring it forward to them.
We would really appreciate that. And to anyone who hasn't watched the video yet, please watch it.
Yeah, I'll send the link out to everybody after this meeting, or maybe Sam can.
And circulate it widely. Get everyone you know to watch it.
I do have, and that brings up another point that Kimberly and Ailish has her hand up too, but have you reached out to the local Rotary clubs in the Chesapeake Bay area? And it seems like that would be a good resource.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that to Nancy, that she should recommend that you've done that.
We've reached out to the one here in Northampton County, and we're just waiting to get on the agenda, because they rotate members who get to choose the topic for that month. So they had a number of people who were already committed.
Well, there's lots of clubs that clubs are always looking for speakers.
Okay.
Especially on a local topic. So you're not, I don't know, your locale in terms of how diverse you can go. And I mean, I give talks and go to Orlando, which is an hour. I've gone to Boca Raton, which is 2 hours.
We have people who are willing to go anywhere.
Yeah. So maybe between Kimberly and I, we can get you a list of like clubs in your area, at least get you to the website, and you can start looking and just reach out to whoever the contact is. And again, they may respond, they may not remember we're volunteers, but just like you, but it could be a really good, you could get some really good impetus using the Rotary as a basis for manpower and interest and stuff. Because it is a very powerful organization across the world.
Yes.
So I mean, we're a particularly small club, and there's clubs of all sizes, most of them will probably be 20, 25 people. in a meeting, but it's hard to say, but, and tell me again where you are located and I'll send you some information.
So I'm on the eastern shore of Virginia. So again, on the Delmarva Peninsula, but it's not far to like Richmond. It's not far to Norfolk, to Virginia Beach. I mean, the state of Virginia is really accessible to us.
So is that like an hour when you say not far, or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. So I'll send you some information about clubs in your area, and then you'll just have to kind of try to find them on Facebook and stuff, because there's not necessarily a resource of contacts, but it could be an invaluable resource for you.
It could be. Thank you.
Ailish has her hand up.
You were saying that that these people self-report, and that self-reporting isn't available to the public. Why is that? Because I would have thought that here they have sunshine laws, but it all depends on who you're dealing with, I guess. But I'm just interested to know why that information isn't available to the public.
Because they have a written agreement with the state of Virginia.
You're kidding.
No.
No, you're not, obviously. I know that. I mean, that's an exasperation more than
I
anything.
mean, it speaks to the absurdity of the situation.
Is that, I mean, does that supersede requirements around FOIA requests and things like that? Like, for example.
Yes, it does.
So
Even let's say a VMRC member wants that as part of their thought process on the regulation. They have to go through, they have to request it as an individual. They have to sign all sorts of forms. They can't talk to anyone about any of the information that they received. It's inexplicable.
Do you know if anyone has been able to get their hands on that agreement that they signed? Because invariably, if you have a really good, intelligent attorney, they will often be able to find loopholes.
We do have it.
Yeah. I just often find that there's loopholes in every contract and every memorandum of understanding and everything. I mean, it's just a matter often of a word or two words and someone who knows what they're looking for to find it.
I asked the Virginia Marine Resources Commission what rules they used for their meetings. Did they use Robert's rules? Did they have, any supplementary rules? And they said, essentially, well, after months of asking and asking such an easy question, they said, well, we mostly use Robert's rules, but we're not like strictly held to those. Well, what are your supplemental rules? Well, we don't have anything in writing. I will say that the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries was able to send me their supplemental rules and quickly said, yes, we use Robert's rules plus this, but not the Virginia Marine Resources Commission. They make it up as they go, in my experience.
It's terrible.
And the members are appointed by the governor.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we all know the Virginia governor right now.
Yeah.
I don't, but I can guess.
Yes. He's not quite as bad as the one in Florida, but he's
All right.
Not a fan of
bad.
most of what he has done or hasn't done.
Which one, your governor or our governor?
Mine.
Yeah, well, we got a real winner here. And let's see, George, Ailish, Dave Andrews, Sam, and I are all in Florida. Most, 4 of us are in the same county, and Sam is 2 counties south, but, yeah, we're all, that's why I say this, it's quite frightening to me, because the older I get, the more I realize what I actually have are homicidal tendencies. And it's really a good thing I don't even own a gun, because
Susie, I'm so glad you gave us a heads up about that.
I am just, over it. Yeah. I think
know.
what a person
I
I like.
know.
Yeah. So, well,
I know.
Deb, I'm happy to spend a minute even and show you how to get some information off the Rotary website.
Absolutely.
And if you guys want me to, I can do it right now. I've got the website up and I can just take the hosting and show you if that's okay. Because
Yeah,
we've
go
got a
ahead.
few extra minutes. And I think we're a little bit, let me see if I can do a screen share.
And again, Deb, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm
Oh, you're
sorry I
very
couldn't be.
welcome.
I waited forever for this ophthalmologist appointment, so I had to do it.
I hope it went well.
You know how it is.
I'll
All right. Can you all see my screen?
we can, Susie, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
fine.
we can keep going. Yeah.
That's a good plan.
Again, Debbie, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate
you.
you joining. We're going to be posting this on YouTube, so you can get the link as well. And it can be complimentary, like 2 links to share, make it really easy for you to give the talk that you've given and then also the video itself. So thanks for that. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
So
tell
so
Nancy
Deb,
I